All right, what's up? This is Dr. CI, and this is just a quick For the Culture episode that I want to talk about a certain topic to get off my mind because it's Saturday, it's the weekend, and it's on my heart. This week, y'all, I've been talking to more women in the workplace who are currently in the midst of leaving the workplace and ready to transition than I ever have before. This episode talks about some of the things that I've heard from them and that I've encountered that have just been on my heart because I think the universe is showing me a sign and I'm starting to pick it up. But I figured I'd share just how women in the workplace are impacted by so many things that most people don't recognize. And I'm not just going to say women, I'm also going to say femmes, right? Because it's feminine identities, it's female identified persons, it's women. It's just if you have a femme energy and a femme presence, then there's a likeliness that you're going to be discriminated against in the workplace by someone who is masculine or male identified or has a male presence, right? And here's what I've been asking myself is, how long are you going to shrink yourself in order to make somebody else feel like they have more space? That's the question of the day. How long are you going to shrink yourself in order to make someone else feel like they have more space? How fair is that to us? It's extremely inequitable, right? It's extremely unfair. But the world programs us to shrink ourselves through a number of different things. It creates standards that says what it is to be feminine, what it is to be ladylike, and what it is to be a woman. It creates standards of professionalism that are based on how a man would react and is supposed to react based on expectations that have been put on him by different institutions in our world, whether it's parents, education, etc., whatever that person has encompassed, right? They've created certain expectations for you that cause you to discriminate against other people. And so I think that as women, when we get into the workplace, we often minimize ourselves for the approval of others. And that has got to stop because it creates mental health issues. It creates an extreme sense of unhappiness for us and even physical health issues, right? And just illness in general. It fucks with our wellness. So how long are we going to allow ourselves to do that? We have got to stop. So recently, like, I was in a company, y'all, and I have to just look off and contemplate because it was like I noticed that there's extreme sexism, right? And in almost every company, in some way, shape, or form, there's a presence of sexism. And I just remember hearing stories of women who stood up for themselves that were punished for it. And that promotes shrinkage, right? When someone punishes you in a space where you feel like you are standing up for yourself. Sorry, y'all, my tag itching my neck. I'm taking moments to scratch it. But when you are in a space and you feel like you are standing up for yourself and someone disciplines you when you know that morally you are right, that does something to you mentally, right? It programs you, it creates a trauma response, all the things. And so I've been asking myself, like, how long are we going to hide who we truly are before we get into a workplace and really feel like we can bring our authentic self, right? The authentic pieces of us. And what that led me to was thinking about how the fact that women we cover our appearance, we cover our attitudes, we cover our behaviors, etc. Now, what covering is it means hiding who you are in order to stay protected and safe. It's what most people do. We straighten or what most Black women are programmed to do, and Black people in general, or BIPOC populations, especially Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, femme identities. There's things that we do with our hair. There's things that we do with our voice. There's things that we do with our body language just to make sure that we are accepted. And the reason that we look for that acceptance is because we want to feel safe, because we know what it's like to feel unsafe or to be mistreated. And it doesn't seem like that ever stops, does it? And so if you know that you covering in the workplace is never stopping and it's not creating a safe space for you, why do you keep doing it? You know, I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself, because I really, really am questioning recently. For example, I was in a company, right? And to continue that story, this man said, I want you to watch C-SPAN. I said, why I need to watch C-SPAN? Him and I were having a conversation. I'm very outspoken. Mind you, I've known this person for a while. I said, why do I need to watch C-SPAN? He said to me, well, there was this Asian CEO on C-SPAN and her demeanor was just very appealing to me. I think you should be more like her. there's all kinds of shit wrong with what he said to me, right? But what it really made me think about is what I had to sacrifice in myself in order to appeal to this person who had decision-making power over me. He was trying to teach me a lesson. Now, I was fortunate enough to be able to walk away from that situation, but not without scars. It took a bunch of scars. There was another instance, another time, through another male-identified person in the company, white male CEO, same as the previous one, and I complained about something that I felt was an injustice. I didn't even complain. Let me be clear. I pointed out something that I felt like was an injustice. And his response to the way that I pointed it out, because it was intense, y'all. I'm pretty intense, but always respectful. And I've learned to love my intensity as long as it's not harming someone else, right? And so I sent the complaint. I'm talking to them. I'm trying to get them to understand why this is wrong. And the response was, I think you are coming from an emotional place and you took it very personally. Why is it that companies weaponize emotions in order to minimize the way that women express themselves and people in general express themselves? That is such a double standard, especially for women. And it's one of the most sexist and misogynist things that I've seen. It's like, first of all, let's look at the number of mass shooters in the world. How many of them are women? Oh, that must be a male-identified person having an emotional response. But if we cry, y'all want to demote us and take products or projects away from us and opportunities away from us. If a person cries in the workplace, if a person gets a little louder in the workplace, if a person is pointing at you and using expressions, that's a problem, right? No, it's not. Emotions are a way of exerting energy, right? It's literally energy in motion. So you have to think about the fact that if someone is pointing something out to you and you say, oh, you took it personal, there is a difference between professional and personal, right? But you have to understand that the emotions don't change in either space. Emotions flow with you wherever your energy goes. So when you are being professional, your emotions are there. When you're being personal, your emotions are there. And to separate the two within itself creates this extreme system of bias against women that has to stop, and femme identities or people who are emotionally expressive. And that has to stop. It is a problem. So it's like, you know, if you are a person who is underrepresented and marginalized in the workplace, you are more likely to not be forgiven when you make a mistake, or you're more likely to be pointed out that your emotions are a mistake when they're actually not. They're not. And so I want people in workplaces to understand that people can be emotionally expressive and not lose competency, right? Not lose their qualifications or their skill set because they are expressive. The problem is that they are emotionally expressive that's different from you and the expectation and standards that you create. And that's not fair if those standards are rooted in bias, and almost every standard is. So to all my women in the workplace who are having to make hard decisions, who are coming from a place of personal story, understand that it is okay for you to be expressive. If your expressive makes someone uncomfortable, so the fuck what? But if your expression makes people feel in danger, then we have a different layer of a conversation to talk about. Because remember, there's a difference between feeling uncomfortable and there's a difference between feeling unsafe, right? To be uncomfortable means that you are just in a situation you're not familiar with. It's foreign to you and your body's starting to react. Now, when you are unsafe, you are in a space where you literally feel like you are in danger and in the process of losing something, right? And if that is the case, that's very different from just being uncomfortable, because uncomfortableness doesn't mean that you might lose something. And so, you know, for anybody that's experiencing this in the workplace, especially to my women who are in the midst of leaving the workplace right now because they're tired of fighting that fight for equality and equity that starts with the perspective of regulating and weaponizing emotions, I'm sending you some love and some light this weekend, because it's a journey that many people are going through, and I just wanted to do a quick episode to let you know that you're not alone. y'all reach out and get in the comment section. Talk to me about your experiences and what's happened to you in the workplace when it comes to emotional responses and how people have discriminated against you and what you've done or what you're currently sitting in that you need help with. I would just love to open up this conversation because I feel like we really need the space, especially right now when emotional awareness is at an all-time high, especially because of a pandemic. But just in general, it's not like this was a problem before or after. Since COVID came, it's been a problem since before COVID. So I'm sending y'all some love. Y'all take care of yourselves and one another. I'm gonna go take care of myself, and I'll be back to talk to y'all soon.